So often you hear,
if you want to play a stop shot, hit the cue ball in the center or slightly below the center.
I say no. There's a much better way to play a high quality and solid stop shot. And I'm going to tell you how. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot play a stop shot by hitting the cue ball in the center or slightly below the center. You actually can. So it's not 100% wrong, but you will soon realize that there are limitations when it comes to playing a stop shot like that. And you don't want the limitations. And just to give you a little hint, have you never wondered why pros, when you watch them, play so many shots aiming low on the cue ball? There must be something about this.
First of all, let me explain the main concept of all types of shots. If you want the cue ball to do something, you have to add some kind of spin to the cue ball. Another word for spin is rotation. So the cue ball is rotating in some kind of way. You can have forward, back, and side spin, for example. So this spin is used in many different ways to move the cue ball around the table. Very often you might hear that a stop shot is like a straight and stun shot. People get confused with a stop shot and a stun shot. Stun is when the cue ball is sliding, so there is no top spin or bottom spin. They seem similar, but in my point of view, these are two totally different type of shots because of the way you use them in the game. With a stop shot, you want the cue ball to stop right there after the contact. A stun shot is played very often in situations where you need the cue ball to move in a small area after contact, for example forward or to the side, or where you need to create some power in the cue ball even though you don't have much angle. I don't like to call a stop shot a stun shot. This confuses many beginners and amateurs. Also understand that a stun shot is learned after you have mastered the 3 basic shots first. In this video we are only talking about the basic straight stop shot.
So now let's have a closer look at the stop shot. The stop shot is actually not a stop shot. You can actually call it a failed draw shot. In order to play a stop shot, you have to add backspin to the cue ball. If you don't have backspin on the cue ball, it will actually just roll forward after the contact. In order to apply that backspin, you have to at least hit a little bit below the center. But even if you hit it just a little bit below the center, you're only adding a little bit of backspin. Now the question is, how long is this backspin gonna last on the cue ball? Because if it doesn't last until the contact with the object ball, then you won't be able to stop the cue ball. So you need to make sure it lasts. And you also need to make sure it's not too much, because when you add too much backspin, you actually draw the ball back. Now all of this is not a big issue with short shots. If there's not a lot of distance between the object ball and the cue ball, then you can almost even hit it in the center and you will be able to play a stop shot. But as soon as you change the distance, you will see the problem. So now let's say you're playing longer shots. So now you have to make sure that the backspin lasts all the way to the object ball. Now you're just hitting slightly below the center, which means the cue ball does not have that much backspin. So what can you do now? Well, you can change the speed, the power of the shot. Add more speed to the cue ball so it reaches the object ball faster. But now you have just created other problems. By adding speed and power to the shot, you sometimes make the shot more difficult, especially when you have tough, long, straight shots or where you have to be very accurate, very precise. We all know playing shots with more speed and power doesn't necessarily make them much easier. So the goal of every stroke and technique and type of shot you're playing should be to play it high quality with as little energy as possible. That's a sign of good technique. If I can play the stop shot in many different ways, with less speed and with a lot of speed, and all those shots in between as well, that's a sign of a good technique and a good stroke. So how are you going to do that now? How are you going to play solid, high-quality stop shots?
Before I answer this, what is a perfect stop shot? Well, this here is not one. This is also not one. And I don't want to see this. And certainly I don't want to see this. Perfect stop shot means it stops right there, no spin, no nothing. So, how can you play this perfect stop shot?
Aim low. So don't just focus on the center or slightly below the center. All this room from the center down is great for stop shots. And then all you have to do is learn how to adjust the speed, the power, and the follow through. You need to be able to play stop shots very slow with really the least amount of speed possible. And then go step by step, bit more speed, bit more power, until your maximum kind of stop shot, whatever that is. For me, it's much easier to play the stop shot really low on the cue ball and just adjust the speed and the follow through. It stops much more nicely than when I go higher on the cue ball, just below the center, and play with more speed. For me, it's much more difficult to then stop the cue ball really nicely. Because it's obvious, right? If you add more speed and power to the shot, you have to be really precise in order for the cue ball to stop perfectly. Just a little bit of side spin or hitting the object ball a little bit to the side makes the cue ball move around much more, and you will be surprised how easy a stop shot can actually be. That's a sign of a good stroke and technique, not punching in the balls. And trust me, your game will thank you. You will face so many situations at the table where you have to adjust the type of shot that you're playing, or the technique, or the stroke, or whatever. All the other future shots that you have to learn afterwards are going to be much easier, because by that time you already learned how to adjust your stroke for whatever you need.
For practice, I would suggest the following. Start with short distance shots and start in the center of the cue ball. Play solid and perfect stop shots. That means the cue ball is not allowed to move around after contact. Play the same distance shot, but then start moving the tip size down on the cue ball. You do this until you have reached the bottom of the cue ball. In this case, you learn to adjust the stop shot to whatever you need, and you also find out what type of stop shot you feel most comfortable with. Then, over time, change the distance and do it all over again.
Play it right, people. And I talk to you soon.